Hey guys, Dusty here. Today I'm giving my 1 month review on my Whoop 3.0 strap. So I've had my Whoop now for almost 1 month and I bought it for one main reason, and that is to track and hopefully improve my recovery. Just remember, this is my 1 month review, so it's more so a first impressions review. I'm going to do another review in about 4 to 5 months, and that'll be more of a full in-depth review. And so far, I haven't been implementing any of the data that I've captured from this strap. I want it to do 1 month just as a baseline, living my life completely how I was prior to actually getting this strap. And now going forward, probably after this video, I'll start doing some things to hopefully improving what my data is telling me. And for those of you that don't know what a Whoop strap is, you could call it a fitness tracker, but I think more so a recovery tracker would be the proper term. The strap has no screen, you're not going to get text messages, it's not going to tell you your steps or anything like that. What it does measure though are three main things, and that is the strain that's put on your body, recovery, and sleep. And it does that through the back of the strap. You can see these two flashing green LEDs, and then it also has a 3-axis accelerometer in it to measure and capture all that data. The packaging is very simple. You're just going to get your strap and then a charging clip and cable. And once you get your Whoop strap on, you want it to fit tight, but not so tight that you're restricting blood flow. You do want it so tight though that you're not able to see those green LEDs when you're just wearing it normally. Once you have it on though, you don't need to take it off. The charging clip will slide on while it's actually on your wrist. So if you want this thing to, it can be capturing data 365 days a year without you taking it off. I would recommend taking it off at least once every week or two just to clean your arm. Okay, and now I'll go over the three main things that the Whoop measures. So we'll start with strain, and that is basically the cardiovascular load that's put on your body throughout the day. And at the end of every day, you're going to get a score between 0 and 21, 21 being a maximal effort. You'll never actually see the number 21, but the higher the number, the higher the strain that you put on your body that day. And basically, it's very simple. The longer you spend at a higher heart rate throughout the day, the higher your strain's going to be. So just as an example, let's say I went out for a run with a friend who has a Whoop strap, and we both ran a 10K together. We both ran the same distance, the same pace, but obviously our perceived efforts are going to be different. So if it was harder for me, if I had a higher heart rate, then I'm going to get a higher strain score than my friend did. And so far over the course of my first month with this, I would say that this is maybe my only complaint so far about this thing. And that is that during activities, this thing always reads about 10 to 20 to sometimes 30 beats per minute higher than my chest straps. And I've compared this with two different brands of chest straps, and yeah, sure enough, this thing is always higher. Like if we look at a run I did this morning, I did a 23K run, and my Garmin chest strap said I had an average heart rate of 138 beats per minute, whereas the Whoop strap said I had an average heart rate of 158 beats per minute. So obviously that's going to result in a much higher strain score. So far over that first month, I've been taking those strain scores, knowing that they're probably actually a little bit lower just because this thing is overestimating my average heart rate, at least during activities. I believe there are a couple of solutions to this, and that is to move the Whoop strap higher up my arm or even onto my bicep. But like I mentioned earlier, I didn't want to change anything about my first month with this strap, so I haven't played around with changing it. But going forward, after this video, I'll probably start moving the strap higher up my arm, at least when I go for a run, to see if it matches the readouts of my chest straps. And one thing I should mention is that when I'm not exerting myself, then the Whoop strap is very accurate. It's just at those higher intensities, it tends to read out quite a bit higher, at least for myself. Now the second thing that the Whoop strap measures is recovery, and it breaks it down into four main things. The first being HRV, or heart rate variability, and then resting heart rate, sleep, and finally respiratory rate. So HRV, or heart rate variability, if you're unfamiliar with that, is basically the variation between each of your heartbeats. So if your heart is beating 60 beats per minute, it's not beating exactly every 1 second. And as far as I understand, HRV is very important when calculating out your rest or how ready you are to perform. And one thing that I've noticed is every day that I'm very recovered and I feel great, I almost always start the day with a really high HRV number, at least compared to the previous few days. And then likewise, that leads us into resting heart rate, which we all know what that is. And on days where my resting heart rate is lower than it's normally been, I usually know I'm primed for a good workout then as well. So I've definitely noticed on days where I'm really recovered, I'll have a high HRV and a low resting heart rate. And I should mention, every morning when you wake up, you'll be given a recovery score. So either you'll be in the red, the yellow, or the green. The red means you probably really need to back off and just focus purely on resting and recovery. Yellow is kind of on that border. You can maybe still push yourself, but just be careful. And then if you're seeing green, then you know you're primed, you're ready to go. And when I see green, that's usually when I see a really high HRV and low resting heart rate. And then of course it's going to calculate sleep. Sleep is hugely important when it comes to recovery. And then it also measures respiratory rate, but it'll tell you in the app that respiratory rate shouldn't change too much day to day. And if it is changing too much day to day, then maybe you're getting really burnt out or you have a sickness coming on. And I've actually read stories about people who have noticed that their respiratory rate or HRV and resting heart rate numbers are getting all out of whack, and sure enough they were on their way to get sick and they didn't even know it was happening, but Whoop told them beforehand that their numbers were off. And then the third main thing that Whoop tracks is sleep, and as far as I understand, this thing is a really good sleep tracker. It's going to measure your quality of sleep, how many times you woke up throughout the night, how much time you spent in the different stages of sleep. You can even go into My Sleep Coach and you can choose if you want to just get by the next day or if you want to perform or peak, and it'll adjust how much sleep you need based on that. And then one thing I really like is every night the app will send your phone a message saying if you want to perform tomorrow, you should be in bed by this time, if you want to wake up by this time. Currently, I have my sleep coach set to peak, so oftentimes it's telling me that I should be getting like 10 hours of sleep, which is definitely not going to happen every night. But I think that's going to be one of the most important things that a lot of Whoop users get out of this, is just how important sleep is and how important it is to make it a priority, especially if you're an athlete. And if you want to recover properly and if you want to perform to your best, you need to be getting sleep. And another thing that I like is when you wake up, I haven't done this yet, but you can fill out a little questionnaire. You can add a ton of questions to it actually, like how much screen time did you have before bed? Did you consume too much sugar throughout the day? Did you travel? Did you eat right before bed? The questions are endless and you can plug in which ones you want to answer every morning. And going forward, I'm definitely going to start answering some of these questions, and I think I'll start to see some patterns or trends on things that I do at night when I have good sleep and good recovery, and things that I do like probably screen time right before bed, which probably more than likely equals not as good of a sleep. So the Whoop is very simple to use. Like I mentioned earlier, how easy it is to charge. It has a 5-day battery life, fully waterproof, so you can take it in the sauna, the ocean, your shower. Now, as far as price goes, Whoop does things a little bit differently. So usually you buy the hardware, like you buy a Garmin watch or you buy a Fitbit. With Whoop, you buy an ongoing service, which is the app or the software. And basically with purchase of that, they throw in the strap for free. So if you're like me, I signed up for the basic membership. It's a 6-month minimum commitment, and then the price is $30 a month. But if you know Whoop is something you want to commit to longer than that, then you can commit to 18 months, and then the price goes down to $18 a month. So I'm not entirely sure if this is something I'm going to keep using after my 6 months is up. By then I might have made all the appropriate changes and just might not have a use for this anymore. But over the course of the next 5 months, I'm really excited to keep using this and making changes based on what my data is telling me. Hopefully those strain scores though, and my average heart rate during activities can start coming down lower if I start wearing the strap up a little bit higher and maybe tighter as well. And when you do go and say do a run, you don't need to tell your Whoop that you're doing it. It just will auto detect that activity after 15 minutes of movement. And it'll also know when you finish the workout, and then it'll upload the strain from that activity into your app for you. So currently I'm training for a half marathon in the fall, about 3 or 4 months from now, and I'm about to put in a couple of big training blocks, so I'm excited to see how Whoop tracks all of that and tells me what I should be doing as far as recovery goes. So really cool little recovery tracker. This has been out for quite a while, but I've been hesitant to get on board. I just thought it was silly to have another thing collecting data. But so far, after 1 month of using it, even though I haven't changed anything, I can see how this thing can be really quite helpful. So anyways, let me know down below in the comments if you have a Whoop and what you think of it. Hopefully things go really good over the next 4 or 5 months, and then I'll leave my full review after that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.